Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Thumb FPV. Now today we are going to talk about the new DJI motion controller, exactly how it works, what it does, the good aspects of it, as well as the bad. We're going to get right into that. Okay, so with all of the new purchases, everybody's buying the new DJI FPV drone. A lot of people are also getting the motion controller. Pretty nice, solid controller, and it actually does work pretty well for what it does. In order to start it up, there is a small square on the bottom of the screen. You do have to have the gimbal, if you will, or within the perimeters to make sure that the controller is straight to a certain extent before you can enable the motors to start and for it to take off. For the motors to start, it's just 2 quick taps to the lock button, and then when you want it to launch, it pops up approximately 1.5 meters off the ground. You would tap it once and then hold it down and it will bring itself up off the ground. On here, this is your accelerator button, the trigger. You have your tilt here for your camera, your record off on. You have your lock, which is to land it and everything like that. Your mode here, your brake button, which is here, and then last but not least, to start and at the end of this, your power button, which you're going to use to turn it on and turn it off. Also, I highly recommend using the included strap. Sometimes you just drop stuff, and this isn't something that you want to drop. Okay, now that we've got the basics of it down, I'm going to talk about it actually working. Now, the use of it when you are going and it's already armed and in the air, to ascend, you will take and you will tilt it back towards you, and you will notice in the box that the little dot will move towards the front or the top of the box, and that will bring you up. And then if you tilt it down, you will descend while you are flying. And it actually does a pretty good rate of ascending and descending with this while flying. I thought it was going to be kind of boxy, but it's not all that bad given the fact that there's not too much wind. Your other 2 controls on this are going to be with your pitch and your yaw. Now, if you're just sitting there and you're holding perfectly still, and you turn it so your pitch, the drone will start to turn in whatever direction that you are turning it. If you go for the yaw on it, then it will actually turn faster. So there's kind of like a speed variable right there. If you want it to move quicker or slower, then you can do one opposed to the other. Not a bad idea. And it works relatively good. I've had this out probably about 5 times. I am pretty happy with it for the most part, for what it is, for what they said that it would do. Now, with that being said, if you are going to use this, there's a couple things that you should pay attention to. The gyro in here is very sensitive to any magnetic fields. Now, with that being said, you definitely do not want to be in your car while using this, or even standing like close to it. You don't want to be under any sort of awning or pavilion, gazebo, whatever that has any form of electromagnetic interference with the area that you're standing in. Also, be aware of the ground that you are standing on. Make sure there's no tanks under you, septic tanks, gas tanks, sewers, whatever, for the most part. I've had 2 different scenarios having, even being on cement. There is a certain amount of like rebar, whatever, that goes through it for the structural work of it. One of them was smaller pads. I don't think it had any of that in it. It was fine, but I moved to a bigger platform and I was standing on that, and I'm pretty sure there was rebar in there, and I was getting motion controller sensor errors popping up in the V2 goggles while I was trying to fly this. So be careful exactly what you're standing on, near, under, any of that. Overall, it is very responsive. I like it. The obstacle avoidance seems to be a little touchy, even when you're not in front of anything while you're using the motion controller. If you're, say, like in sport mode, I found if you're within like 10 feet of the ground, it starts to pick up that there's something in front of you, which obviously the drone is tipping down. I think they should have had the motion sensor or the obstacle avoidance sensors more on an angle, being as the drone does tip. There's already some on the bottom when it's going to land, so putting them directly 90 degrees out on the front while using this does kind of throw it off and throws up some warnings, which is a good thing. Seriously, I mean, it'll let you know, especially for new pilots, it'll let you know you're getting kind of close to the ground. Hey, be careful of what you're flying around or whatever. But the camera on it and with the V2 goggles, it's very easy to see where you're at, and if you're just going to plow it right into the ground, you probably shouldn't be flying this thing to begin with. Okay, so that's my basic overview on this. Now I'm going to talk about why they screwed it up, to me at least. Some people are probably not going to like this. Some people are going to be like, that's a good point, and then other people are just going to be like, shut up. But I'm going to talk about my personal opinion on this now that I've got past the actual basics of what this thing does. So, to me, is this a good toy? Yeah. Is this an actual tool? No. And here's why. Because it doesn't really do everything that an actual controller will do. And they could have really easily made it do it. They could have had it so... I'm going to start with the trigger, okay? Just to break this down. Okay, we have our basic trigger right here. And when you're doing, you can take off. That's fine. Well, a lot of us are in open areas or whatever. We like to do the whole 360, not 360 flying, but the whole 360 shooting, the cinematic effect of it and everything like that. And what's this missing is the ability to back up. Could have had this very simple, they could have put motion sensors in the back, obstacle avoidance in the back, and they could have easily had this thing fly backwards. And all they would have had to do is, instead of make this a trigger, give it a through hole. Why does it only go one way? My honest opinion, this thing should be about mid-range right here. The trigger should come up around the finger like this. You should be able to go forward, and then you should also be able to go backwards. That's what they should have done with this. This is just me talking, but this, I mean, that makes sense, right? You getting that? So it's cool, but not fully effective. Also, the fact that you cannot just fly side to side. You have to turn in order to get a different angle or move. It's either forward or turning. Now, when they have the angle on it like this, and you're able to use your pitch, that's fine for turning. What they should have done for the yaw, if you're going like this, is been able to enable the drone to fly sideways. Either way. Give it a little different sense of control on that, and literally this thing would have been amazing. Is it good now? Yeah, I give it a good 80%, but it could have really easily been a 100. This may be something that they're talking about doing that we don't know about yet, maybe for a future model or whatever. Everything as far as the new DJI FPV this is like a beta stage, regardless of the fact that it's a public product. This is a test model to see what's going on. I have heard it talk, some people mentioning they're already working on the FPV Pro drone. I haven't seen anything on it yet, but I am sure that if they're going to probably take off with this like they did the Mavic. There's probably going to be 5 different versions of this thing to come out in the next 2 or 3 years. And right now, this is just like the original Mavic when it came out back in the day. But anyway, as far as the controller goes, I really think that they did skimp on this. Is this groundbreaking? Is this brand new? Nobody has this. DJI made an FPV drone. They gave it a motion controller with the V2 goggles. Yeah, it's really amazing, but I think they held back just a little bit on this controller. And that's my opinion on it, at least. I don't know what you think. The trigger, at least they could have gave it a backwards. I mean, it goes forward, it turns. It could have backed up and then gave it, you know, just the slide, the pan view or whatever, everything like that, and it would have been fine. Would I recommend that you get this? Yeah, most definitely. This is a great product right here. And for only $200, I mean, it's not horrible. You cannot use it on anything but the DJI FPV drone. And with it being like this for the first model, it's probably going to stay that way. If they would come out with something like this that would hook up to the air unit, that would be intense. That'd be really cool. That would make more sense, because when do you ever fly backwards in FPV? I mean, you don't really. You can for the pilot. I mean, you know how, but you never really like try to just fly straight back to get a cinematic shot. It's more for the stunt aspect on it. So as far as I go with this controller, it's a good toy. Is it fully a tool yet? No, not by a long shot. But that is my review on this for now. I'm going to get into some more videos here shortly, some ideas and stuff that I've had about the whole DJI FPV combo. It is a really, really cool setup that they have came out with. I will give them credit for that. DJI has been around for a good minute. There's other companies out there. You got Parrot, you got Unique. They don't seem to be doing anything lately. I don't know if they're holding off and waiting to come up with their own thing out of the blue and surprise us all with something. It'd be cool, you know. This thing definitely needs competition. Right now, nobody is holding a candle to this, though. I mean, this is the baddest thing that has happened to FPV in a minute. And regardless of the fact that there's so many haters out there, I know you still want to try this. Don't tell me that you don't. I was really skeptical on it. This is actually the first DJI drone that I ever bought, aside from the Tello. I have the Mantis Q, the Typhoon H. I have the Autel Evo as far as stabilized drones go, and this right here definitely is the top of the line for anything that I have seen and anybody else, because it's simply the best that there is. But they could have just done a little bit better. I'm gonna stop rambling for now. This is Thumb FPV. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll have another one up soon.